tell. It's gonna be a great Noel. It's the Advent Calendar House. Muppets, Batman, Smurfs, and even Garfield's Halloween. We're gonna take a trip down memory lane. Frosty, Rudolph, and a bunch you've probably never seen. It's Mike and pals that come to entertain. Turn the knob and lift the latch for fun and laughs that can't be matched. And just beware the icy patch. It's the Advent Calendar House.
Welcome to the Advent Calendar House, the podcast that's funnier when you play it backwards, but only if you combine all three ghosts of Christmas and make them sit on each other's shoulders. He's very tall. Well, it's Scrooge Sunday again, and today's special turns everyone's favorite festive tale of redemption on its head. So join us as we take a break from our long night of rescuing souls to dramatically pop into the bedchambers of Christmas past in 1988 and say hello to Blackadder's Christmas Carol. I am as unattractive as a giant slug, Mike Westfall. And joining me is the handsomest third of the future queen of the universe's Trisble. Nope. Is the handsomest third of the future queen of the... Goodness.
Wrong.
Is the handsomest third of the future queen of the universe's triple husbandoid? Third time's the charm. Please welcome Jack from the Total Christmas Podcast. Hello, Jack.
Hey, great to be on here, Mike. I can't believe you got me back after I embarrassed myself
You did not.
on the live. Do you know what? When I listened back to your episode, kids, for those of you that aren't aware, I was on an episode before where we talked about the Jetsons' Christmas Carol, and I got one of those bits where it goes, wrong, and I've never lived it down. I wake up in the night in a cold sweat, thinking, how could I have been so foolish? How could I have been so foolish?
I think that was both of us. I think that was a wrong for both of us.
But you agreed with what I said. You agreed.
It's been a while.
No, it was. Yeah, you agreed, but you shouldn't have agreed with me because you knew better. I think it felt like when you agreed to what I said, I felt like you were just, yeah, whatever. Just shut
That's
up. You know?
not. I don't know.
That's what it felt like. But yeah, so I want to clear it up. So I said the guy that did the voice of Junior Jetson, whatever his name is, the little one, I said he also did the voice of Shaggy Doo, and I think I meant no, I didn't mean. I knew I didn't mean Shaggy Doo. I meant the little one of Doggy Daddy or whatever it's called. You know the one?
Yeah, dog. Augie Doggy.
Yeah. I'm probably going to get it wrong on that as well.
No,
but
that
we'll
was
see.
no. That you're right. That's now I don't remember who it is. Future Mike here. Hey, past Mike, it's Dawes Butler. Oh, and also it's Scrappy Doo, who, by the way, in the Scooby-Doo movie from 2002, is played by Rowan Atkinson. And we're back.
Okay. Well, hopefully I've redeemed myself and I'll stop waking up in the night in a cold sweat.
Oh, well, I didn't mean to make you do that. I'm sorry. Thank you for
I'm
being
not blaming
here.
you. It's not your fault. It was me.
Happens.
I made the mistake. I thought
All right.
I was being clever. Turned out I was an imbecile.
Well, I mean, I do this every episode. I'm an imbecile every episode. So,
Never.
And yet people are still here. So how much of Blackadder have you watched? Because aside from this Christmas special, this is a real blind spot for me.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Blackadder was voted in a poll in like 2009 as the second most popular sitcom of all time in the UK.
Wow.
Only behind one called Only Fools and Horses, which you may or may not have heard of.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, there's no way anyone was going to beat them. But so it only ran for 4 seasons. I was a latecomer to it because I think I was 9 when the first season came out.
Okay.
And I don't think I was that interested in the second season either. Or the third, it might be. But I think it might. I think I've got a feeling that I got involved. I started watching it for Blackadder's Christmas Carol. Loved it so much that I went back and when they repeated all the others, because they did repeat them quite a lot, the earlier seasons. But yeah, so each one had a different title though, because they were set in different periods in history.
Yeah.
So you got the first one was just called The Blackadder, and the second one was Blackadder 2. The third one was Blackadder the Third. Then it was this. Then it was Blackadder. Oh, there was another short special they did as well in between, and then there was Blackadder Goes Forth, which was set in World War One. Yeah.
That whole concept of setting them in different periods I thought was very clever on its own. Somehow I have seen this one-off Christmas special multiple times, and then I just was never able to catch any other episode. So I thought watching this, oh, this looks like a clip show, but it turns out it's not.
No, and that's funny you say that because I originally thought it was a clip show as well.
Okay.
And then, like, back, I'm talking years and years ago, because I watched this when it first came out when I would have been 13, 14. And yeah, I remember seeing it thinking, oh, they must have cut those bits from the previous series. But no, they filmed them specially for this. Yeah. It's not like the old Warner Brothers Christmas specials they used to do with the cartoons.
Yeah.
And it would be like featuring 5% new material or whatever.
Right. Oh, I remember doing those a lot. And then I would much later see just those individual cartoons by themselves. And I thought, wait a minute. I thought that was part of a movie.
Yes.
Yeah, Warner Brothers did that a lot. But yeah, this Christmas special wasn't part of any one of those seasons you mentioned. Instead, it was one-off special set in between the third and the fourth series.
That's right, yeah. And then they did the other special I said about. That was for a thing called Comic Relief, which is like a telephone thing they do.
Okay, yeah, we have that.
And then they did another one for the millennium called Blackadder Back and Forth. And that was sort of set in modern day, where he sort of traveled through time and went to loads of different time periods. Have you ever seen that one?
No, I want to check that out. That sounds right up my alley.
I've got a feeling that's on YouTube, actually. I'm not 100% sure, but you might be able to find that on YouTube, because this one isn't on YouTube, is it?
No, I found it on Vimeo.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I should have gone on Vimeo. I went on Daily Motion. And I got a lot of adverts. That was great.
Oh, dear. Sorry about that. Yeah, I found it on Vimeo. I think it's hanging out in the Internet Archive.
Was it, when you watched it on Vimeo, did it have all of it? Did it have like the credits at the start and everything?
Yeah, it had the credits at the start.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Because it didn't have that on Daily Motion.
Oh, weird. No, it had the whole thing. I had a script next to me that I found. Someone had transcribed this entire episode, and there was one scene missing, but it turns out that was a scene we'll get to in a bit, but it was cut for later appearances, and this looks like it was taken from a VHS video.
Oh, okay.
And transferred over. And they cut this scene, which I'll talk about a bit. But real quick, Blackadder's Christmas Carol first aired December 23rd, 1988 on BBC One. That may be why I thought this was a clip show, because it features those characters from those past series, but they brought them back for these short Christmas scenes, and it all works in the confines of this bizarro Scrooge story. So I thought it was really well done. So let's actually get talking about this special. Off we go to Dumpling Lane in Victorian-era London, and the business of Ebenezer Blackadder, the kindest and loveliest man in all of England, which gets a laugh track here because the joke is all the other Blackadders were big jerks.
Yeah. That's what made it really stand out when it first was on. The fact that you expect him to be a git, and he wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah. So that the whole bit, I had to go on YouTube to watch that little bit at the very start. The voiceover, the narrator is Hugh Laurie.
Hugh Laurie, yeah.
Yeah, who's in it later on.
In the reign of good Queen Vic, there stood in Dumpling Lane in old London town the moustache shop of one Ebenezer Blackadder, the kindest and loveliest man in all England.
And you missed out the fact that he runs a moustache shop.
I did catch that. That's not anything. That's just nonsense, right?
What, Mike, are you telling me you've never been to a moustache shop?
No, I haven't.
Where did you get that one on your face?
It's just homegrown.
Oh, goodness me. No, I only ever get my moustaches in a moustache shop.
Oh, okay.
I think it was a Victorian joke, Mike.
Okay.
That was...
Thought it might have just been a made-up thing to sound like the least profitable business you could think of.
Well, it sounds like it was fairly profitable for us. I don't want to jump ahead, though.
But before we meet Ebenezer Blackadder, we meet his employee, Baldric. Every Blackadder in history has a Baldric as a sidekick, and every Baldric is played by Tony Robinson, who unfortunately I'm not really familiar with.
Okay, so I've talked about Tony Robinson on my show because he released a single in the late 90s, a Christmas single.
Christmas Eve, there's a job to do. Get your scissors snipping, your sticky tape snapping. The presents for your friends are lying around. You gotta get down to your Christmas wrapping.
It didn't do very well, and it's not a very good single either. but it was like very humorous. It was sort of set for a young audience. But he's really famous originally from this, but then he also did a lot of kids' TV shows as well. So he did one called Fat Tulip's Garden, which I was a big fan of. It's sort of just him walking around telling stories. Then he did the story of Odysseus in like a 13
Okay.
part thing, which I think was written by Richard Curtis as well. I think they worked on it together, the guy, who wrote this. And he was also on a show called Time Team, which ran for something like 15 to 20 years, I think, because it was like an archaeology show. He was
Yeah.
really into archaeology, but he's been in a lot of other stuff. But what I find incredibly interesting about him, which is when I talked about his single, is that his partner he met when he was 70 and she was 35.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's two of her.
I say partner, they're married actually. They're married. Yeah, they've been married
Okay.
well. Yeah,
Well.
they met I think 10 years ago. Yeah.
Well, I guess it worked out for them. So, okay.
Oh, so he had a show called Maid Marian.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah, so that was like a take on Robin Hood,
Uh-huh.
and he played the Sheriff of Nottingham, and it was all about Maid Marian, and Robin was like a real dimwit, but Marian was in charge of the outlaws. It was a really good show actually. It was like a kids show, but grown-ups got a lot out of it as well. So
Okay.
yeah, I always enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yeah, that looked really interesting. But he's Baldric here, dusting off one of those mustaches that they sell, and in walks Ebenezer Blackadder himself, shouting "Humbug!"
Humbug! Humbug! Humbug, Mr. Baldric?
Oh, thank you very much.
until he offers one to Baldric, and we realize, oh, Humbug is a piece of candy.
Exactly. Yeah. Can you buy humbugs in the States?
Never heard of him.
Have you not? Honestly?
No, is that a real candy?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I forget the name of it's the shape is almost like a pyramid, but it's slightly elongated. And they're black and white striped.
Huh.
Quite often they're called mint humbugs.
Mint humbugs.
Yeah, mint humbugs, and it's just a mint humbug. Yeah, they're nice.
I have to go looking for these. Sometimes we'll get Target over here. We'll have a lot of things from the UK. Like they have a little M&S section of things that only comes out during Christmas.
Oh, okay. Marks and Spencer's.
It's the only time I'll see that. So I'll have to look for humbugs.
Yeah, I don't think they're a Christmas sweet though.
Oh, okay. Huh.
I think they're either an all year round thing. When I was a kid, I got a humbug. We went to Cornwall on holiday, and I got a humbug that was the size of a big man's fist. It was massive.
Wow.
It took me ages to. I don't know if I ate the whole thing or not. I had it for ages, and it was still wrapped in plastic, and I'd nibble a bit or I'd gnaw at it like a rat. Yeah, it lasted me weeks and weeks. My mum probably threw it away before I got through it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I wouldn't have been able to finish one of those.
Yeah, so I got a feeling it's a bit like ribbon candy. I think the texture's a bit
Okay.
like, but it's always mint. Yeah. While we're on the subject of humbug, this really annoys me because I think a lot of people think humbug is like a curse, like you're angry about something, so you're humbug, like you're saying, oh damn, but it's not. It's more like the way P.T. Barnum would refer to humbugs. It was a con, and Scrooge always felt like
Okay,
he
yes.
felt like Christmas was a way for people to try and get money out of him, and that's why
Sure.
they call it a humbug. And that's why his nephew says, "Christmas a humbug, Uncle." Like he knows that he's talking
Right.
about Christmas being a humbug. Yeah. So there you go. It always annoys me that when I think people think it's just saying "damn," but they're not.
Yeah, I feel like you've explained that on your show before.
Oh, have I? I'm repeating myself.
You might have. Well, you are, but not for this audience.
Well, you've actually got some listeners. You've got some listeners though, Mike, haven't you? I don't. I've got 3. Yeah.
Everybody
so
go listen to the Total Christmas podcast.
Never going to happen.
Do that. Well, I'm sorry. So Rowan Atkinson was what drew me to this Christmas special when I first saw it. I just remember thinking, hey, that's Mr. Bean.
Yes.
Because that's how I think most people over here know Rowan Atkinson.
Yeah, I see. Mr. Bean came after Blackadder, so he was always,
Yeah.
he was already really famous and popular in the UK. He was in a show called Not the 9 O'Clock News, which I've got a feeling was also written by Richard Curtis as well.
Okay.
And that was like a sketch show that was really popular in the early 80s. And then he did Blackadder, and I think the first season was really popular, but like the second one really consolidated it, and he became quite the star. And then Mr. Bean followed on from that, and then of course we've got Johnny English.
Johnny English. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe they're making Johnny English 4 as we speak.
Really? I didn't even know there was a third. I only know the 2.
Yeah, I don't think I saw the third. I don't know if I saw the second one, actually. Yeah. Not a massive fan.
Okay.
But he was in these adverts for Barclaycard. Like Barclaycard, like American Express.
Yeah.
He was in his advert, and his character was pretty much Johnny English. And off the back of those adverts, a bit like Ernest. Ernest.
Okay, yeah, Ernest.
Goes to jail, that guy. A bit like he got his own films. Well, kind of the same thing happened with Rowan Atkinson's character from the Barclaycard advert. And while we're on the subject of Rowan Atkinson, his partner is 26 years younger than him.
Oh my
So the two of them
goodness.
seem to have a penchant for the younger ladies.
Okay. My wife is 6 months younger than I am.
Oh, you're as bad as them.
Yeah.
Shame on you.
So Baldric shows Ebenezer the Christmas cards he written, and they say a very messy Christmas or a very messy something, because Ebenezer points out
Christmas has an H in it, Mr. Baldric. And an R. Also an I and an S.
and he goes through every letter. He's missed every one.
Yeah, did you catch that at the end? At the very end, but after the credits roll? Did you see that? No?
No.
Okay, so when the credits roll at the very end, up on the screen in like a childish scroll, it says a very merry, or does it say very, a merry, messy Christmas, but it's spelled, I can tell you how he spelled it, Kwezznuz. So, Quesznuz. But the funny thing is, all the other words are actually spelled correctly, but Quesznuz, Christmas,
Just
is
that one.
spelled, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm surprised you missed that, but I had to hunt it down.
Yeah, I wonder if it just got cut out or... Or maybe I just didn't... I decided to stop through the credits. There's not a post-credits to this. I was wrong. But Baldric explains he was in a rush because he was helping out with his workhouse's nativity play in which the baby playing Jesus died, and they didn't have any more babies, so they just used a dog instead. And then it turns out all the sheep were also played by dogs, and now I just want to see a nativity with all dogs.
I think we all do, Mike. I think we all do.
You have nativities with live animals. It could work. Have you ever seen one of them with the live animals?
I don't think I have, sadly. I've never seen one with a live baby either. It's normally a doll.
I have. And the baby's usually well behaved and usually just cry a little bit, but whoever is Mary is usually pretty good. It's usually like an older teenager, just pretty good at holding the baby and calming him down. But yeah, I feel like most time everyone just uses a doll. But right here is where I'll mention I looked up that transcript so I could have notes while I'm watching this.
Well, you don't need the transcript, actually. If you go on YouTube, you'll see the deleted... It's only like one line, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just this one line.
Weren't the children upset?
Nah, they loved it. They want us to do another one at Easter. They want to see us nail up the dog.
Yeah.
But they kept the joke about the human baby Jesus dying.
Yeah, I think it's the idea of nailing up Jesus, maybe, or nailing... I don't know, is it nailing a dog or nailing up Jesus? I don't know why
Probably
they
the
decided
dog.
to cut that. I think they've reinstated it, though, I read somewhere.
did they?
In later editions, yeah, but I don't know if that's on TV or what, because I know they showed it this year, but I didn't catch it because I'd watched it so many times when I was a kid. I recorded it off the TV
Okay.
back in '88, and I must have watched it a dozen times, like that year.
Mm,
I loved it so much, which I guess would have had the line about nailing up the dog, yeah.
sure. Yeah, just, I can excuse infant mortality, but I draw the line in animal cruelty.
That's it, yeah.
Ebenezer changes the subject to thinking about how all people all over the country are enjoying Christmas, and we cut to Buckingham Palace, where we meet Queen Victoria and Prince Albert.
What are you doing, Albert?
Nothing?
Oh, yes, you are, you naughty German sausage.
And the Queen is played by Miriam Margolyes, whom I recognize from two things. Number one, she was in Little Shop of Horrors.
You didn't recognize her from that.
Yes, I did! Steve Martin
did-
punches her in the
yeah,
face!
yeah, I know
That's
he
where I knew her
punches- you
first. That's where I knew her
Don't you
first.
give
But
it-
yeah,
you
everybody
saw-
else...
This is a lie. This is a lie, boys and girls.
No,
He's looked it up on IMDb.
I
saw
did
she was in
not.
Little Shop of Horrors. There's no way you
love
recognize
Little
her from
Shop
that.
of Horrors.
I
No,
love Little. This is true. This is true, Michael.
Okay.
I watched Little Shop of Horrors 2 nights ago.
Did you really?
I swear to God. Yep, I swear to God, that is a fact. My girls love it. And I bought it on DVD, although now it's on Amazon, actually. And we watched it on Amazon, on Prime. And there I saw her again because it was only the last time we watched it. I thought, hang on, that looks like Marion Margulies.
Sure is. Steve Martin punches her in the face.
This is true. You honestly, you recognised her from that.
That's where I recognized her when I first saw her in Harry Potter. It's Professor Sprout, everyone.
It is Professor Sprout. How many times have you watched Little Shop of Horrors to recognise the
can't
nurse?
count.
She's in like less than 3 scenes, if that. And each time she's getting punched or hit by a door.
It's a great joke. I don't know.
Oh, it's good. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's a great scene. The whole thing.
I think it might have been when Wikipedia first became a thing and I was interested in, okay, who's this actor from? And then maybe I might have gone back, oh, yeah, she was in Little Shop of Horrors, get punched in the face a bunch.
Okay.
So I was going in chronological order.
Okay, I see. Yes, she's Professor Sprout. And also Jim Broadbent, he was in Harry Potter as well. We got a few from Harry Potter in this.
Yeah, there's a couple more coming up. But yeah, Jim Broadbent, Professor Slughorn.
Really, woman, when you're busy ruling India, you don't tell me what you are doing. So why should I tell you what I am doing when I am busy wrapping up this cushion for your surprise Christmas present? Damn!
I did want to try and think, okay, what else did I know these British actors from besides Harry Potter? And I know Jim Broadbent from, he was another professor in Disney's version of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
He was, you're right, yeah.
The professor in that.
I never remembered that, though. He was in, he played Santa Claus.
Yeah.
With Hugh Laurie, actually, again, in
Arthur Christmas. I have that.
And also Get Santa as well, that was him.
I have not seen Get Santa, but I have that down.
It's not bad, actually. It's all right. Yeah, Rafe Spall. It's all right.
Yeah, I want to check that out. And then a third time in a TV ad for the grocery store Aldi, you talked about those. This is the one with Kevin the Carrot. He's Santa Claus in those, doing the narration, right?
Oh, you're right. He is. Yeah. I talked about that on my episode.
Yeah. I have an Aldi near me. It's where I do most of my grocery shopping. I've never heard of Kevin the Carrot until you brought him up.
You are missing out, Mark. You haven't lived.
No, I'm not experiencing the full Aldi experience here. I'll have to write a letter. I'm not going to write a letter, but yeah, Queen Victoria and Prince Albert. Prince Albert's got a very silly German accent here, rapping something. But when Queen Victoria walks in, he tries and fails to hide it. He actually says, "Why should I tell you what I'm doing when I'm busy wrapping up this cushion for your surprise Christmas present?" And that's the whole joke through this whole scene.
Not a great joke, is it?
No, it gets funnier because he keeps forgetting to surprise things. There's another one. It's just like, well, I love Christmas surprises like this nutcracker I was going to surprise you with.
Oh, you're making me laugh now. Oh, your delivery's better than Jim Broadbent's. Oscar winner Jim Broadbent's.
Oh, see, that's what it is. It's the delivery. See, you got to drop the German accent, but he's Prince Albert, so he can't. So
at this point, I want to point out something that I read that I guess I should have known. So Queen Victoria, she's really famous for dressing in black.
Mm-hmm.
And that was only after her husband died, Prince Albert.
Oh.
So, yeah, the whole garb she's wearing in this was not really the sort of thing she would have necessarily been wearing before he passed away. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. Good catch.
No, I didn't catch it. I read it somewhere.
Oh, you read it later. Okay.
Yeah, I studied. I've tried to do a bit of research. I tried to make it worth having me here, Mike. It's been 2 years since I made that slip up about Augie Doggy, which you've never let me live down.
Yes, that's what happened.
So now I'm so honoured to be back. I thought I'd better do a modicum of research, more than I do for my show. I'll tell you that for nothing.
Well, thank you. You're doing a wonderful job. But the Queen reminds him they still have their traditional Christmas adventure. And for a second, I was excited about this. I want to go on Christmas adventures. But she explains they're going out in disguise to search for good and virtuous people so they can do some weird version of Undercover Boss.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. Yeah.
That's
it's called Undercover Millionaire in the UK.
Oh, is that what it's? Okay.
I think, yeah. Or was there 2 different ones?
Maybe. I'm not familiar with Undercover Millionaire, but we have Undercover Boss, where it's always someone at a company that these people work for checking out, all right, what's going on with this business?
What we're talking about Marion Margulies, actually. Yeah. She's like a bit of a national treasure. She really is. The funny thing is, I couldn't name a lot of stuff she's been in. She was in some very popular adverts for British Telecom in the 80s and early 90s. But I couldn't name a lot of her stuff. But yeah, she's widely loved. She really is, yeah, proper one of those national treasures that's on a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think she was in James and the Giant Peach? Was she one of the ants in James and the Giant Peach?
She was.
Okay.
I think she was Aunt Sponge. Was
Aunt Sponge.
And Aunt Spiker?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
She's Aunt Sponge. Well
I
done.
haven't watched that in a long time, but
yeah, I know. I watched it this year. Actually, it was good.
okay. Yeah, I should put that on for the kids. They would love that. But back to Ebenezer Blackadder, who puts out his very meager but festive spread consisting of a bowl of nuts, a rather small turkey, and a few presents.
It's a very small turkey. What
It's
do you
a
reckon?
very small turkey.
A quail, a pigeon?
Probably. Yeah, I've never seen a quail in real life, but
Yeah, that's no turkey.
no turkey's that small. He adds, what more could a man desire at Christmas? And Baldric answers, well, a tree, which reminds Ebenezer he did get a tree. And he opens the front door and he brings in this tiny, saddest little Charlie Brown tree I've ever seen.
Oh, it's a bit smaller than that. It's not much more than a twig.
No, it is a twig with a little... I don't think it is decorated. I think it's just a twig.
It is just a twig. Yeah. What the question is, why has he got it outside? He could fit that in his pocket.
Forgot to bring it in. He was giving out humbugs.
Sat at this angle. It's not... Right. Sorry, carry on.
But as Ebenezer very innocently reminds Baldric, size isn't important, it's where you stick it. And he sticks his Christmas twig in a little candle stand on the table. Besides, he says, they've got a whole year's profits to spend on whatever they want, and a whole year's profits for Ebenezer Blackadder adds up to 17 pounds and a penny.
That's pretty good stuff, though, back then. That's pretty good.
Well, I crunched the numbers.
Oh, here we go.
And the Bank of England has a very handy inflation calculator that goes all the way back to the 1200s.
Oh, wow.
Which I thought was impressive. And it turns out 17 pounds in 1842, let's assume the year before Charles Dickens published A Christmas Carol, that is equal to 1,610 pounds in 2024, which I looked it up is over 2,100 American dollars.
Well, that's not awful.
Not awful. Not great, but...
Not for year's profits. I think that sounds a bit off, to be honest, because Bob Cratchit earns 15 shillings and there's 20 shillings in a pound. So you're looking at least 17 weeks over 17 weeks wages for Bob Cratchit.
Yeah, but he didn't work in a mustache shop.
So that their inflation calculator, I'm not sure about that. Anyway.
Okay. Baldric is quick to point out it'd be a lot more if he didn't give away so much money to the poor, but Ebenezer said,
well, yes, but in the feeling good ledger of life, we are rich indeed.
Yeah, I just wish we weren't doing so well in the bit short of prezzies and feeling a gullible prat ledger.
Well, the next thing that happens is there's a ring at the door, and it's a Mrs. Scratchit. Well done. Good joke.
Yep.
Oh, Mr. Blackadder! Can I be merry when we are so poor we shall have nothing to eat on Christmas Day, except what Grandfather can scrape from under his big toenails?
And she is played by Pauline Melville, who's better known as an author now.
Is that right? I didn't know that. Well done.
Yeah, this was before her writing career. IMDb says she's known for her appearance in the movie The Long Good Friday, then this, and then a 2010 film called Brighton Rock.
Yeah, that's actually a remake. Brighton Rock is a very
is it?
famous black and white. Actually, it was Dickie Attenborough, Richard Attenborough, Santa himself.
Yeah.
Played the Pinky. Someone is the main character, and it's called Pinky Brown or something. They remade that in 2010. So.
Okay.
She was also Vivian's mum in The Young Ones. Did you ever watch? Oh, you got that?
That's the next one I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was sort of the main role that I was familiar with. The Long Good Friday, that's quite a famous film as well, actually. That's Bob Hoskins is like a crime boss in it with Helen Mirren's his girlfriend. And I think he gets killed at the end. That's spoiler alert.
Oh, well.
By Pierce Brosnan, isn't it, as well? Before he was Bond.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite an old film, like early 80s or something.
That's an interesting cast.
Yeah, well,
just those names that you said.
It was early 80s, so, you know.
Okay, yeah. So here is Mrs. Scratchit. She opens the door and wails that she has nothing to eat except for what Grandfather can scrape from under his big toenail.
I did find that quite funny.
Lovely. Yeah. So Ebenezer wants to help her out. He notices a box of matches in the basket she's carrying and asks to buy that from her. And she immediately turns on her serious voice and says, "I quit a match." And Ebenezer balks at first before she turns on the waterworks again. So he says, "All right, it's Christmas Eve. Here's 10 pounds. But she says quite angrily, "Wait, you don't want all the matches? There are 17 in here." Which is an odd number of matches to still have.
Well, matches the amount of money he's got, so it's handy for everyone.
Okay. And so he gives her all 17 of his pounds from his yearly wages. And she takes that, sings "Lovely," and out the door.
That was good, actually. That's how she says it.
Lovely!
I really didn't like her character.
No.
She was, obviously, there's lots of characters not to like, but just her voice was really, yeah.
Oh, no, she put it on thick through the whole... Yeah, no, it's a well-done character, but you're supposed to not like her.
Yeah.
But that leaves Ebenezer with a single splendid, shining penny. And didn't she once talk about a sequel someone wrote to A Christmas Carol where Scrooge gives away everything he owns and dies penniless?
I did. Well, when did you get that from?
When he's down to this penny, that's what reminded me of that.
Yeah, I get that, but you don't listen to my show. Don't start acting like you.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, he's never listened to an episode, kids. Someone must have emailed them and told him what I talked about.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah. Yes, there was a radio show, and it was awful.
Oh, it's a radio show. Okay, I thought it was a book.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was.
Yeah, you meant like it sounds terrible. It sounds like a terrible concept.
Yeah, he dies I think he might die on a park bench.
On a park bench.
Because he goes to live with Bob Cratchit for a while, and they're just trying to rinse all his money out of him. And then he goes to live with his nephew Fred for a while, and the worst bit is, it's the women in it are made as the bad guys. It's like Bob Cratchit's wife.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And cousin Fred's wife are the ones that are trying to rinse. This is going off subject though, Mike. Let's get back to
no, I'm never covering that. But that's what this started to remind me of, is more and more people come in and just try and take everything he has. And Ebenezer Blackadder is also left penniless after a young boy walks in and asks,
"A penny for Christmas cheer, sucker. I mean, sir."
Well, certainly, here. Going to buy some cake and pie for yourself and your silver-haired mother?
Nah, sod that. I'm off to the gin shop.
I do have a credit for this boy.
Oh, you have a credit? What's your credit?
My credit, IMDb says his name is Martino Lazzari.
That's it, yeah.
Okay, and a lot of his credits around this time are similarly unnamed characters. He's just boy or lad or child.
He was in 34 episodes of Grange Hill.
What's Grange Hill? I don't know that.
Well, yeah, do you know what? This Grange Hill ran from, oh goodness, like maybe 1980 till maybe, I hate to think when they finished it, maybe like early 2000s. Might have been a bit later than that.
Wow.
Yeah, but it should have gone longer. I can't believe they got rid of it.
Really?
Yeah, because that was a real part of my childhood. And then when I sort of was in my mid-teens, they started re-showing all the original episodes from the 80s. And there's a lot of stars came out of Grange Hill. I can't think of any. You probably don't remember Sean Maguire, but the name probably doesn't ring a bell. But he went to the States and he was the Leonidas character in Meet the Spartans. So yeah, that's one person. There's lots of other people that went on from that to be in soap operas in the UK as well. So yeah, there's a lot of youth stars. It's a fantastic show, and then they stopped making it. But he was in 34 episodes, which sounds like a lot, but
if this is running for 20 years.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Here, after throwing a tantrum, Ebenezer joyfully gives this boy his last penny so he can buy some cake or pie for himself and his mother, and the boy calls back, "Nah, sod off. I'm off to the gin shop." That's the spirit.
I'm interested to know how much gin he's going to get for his penny. As long as he gets some, he'll be all right.
Keep him nice and warm. But Ebenezer's still in good cheer because 'tis the season for it, and he still has his spread of nuts, turkey, and presents. And then with a shrieking laugh, we see through the window they have another visitor. It's his goddaughter, Millicent.
Ah, Millicent, to what do I owe this excellent pleasure?
Oh, I just thought I'd pop round, you know, just on the off chance. Well, you know, Christmas is a time traditionally connected with presents.
She is played by Nicola Bryant, best known as Perry Brown from Doctor Who. She was a companion of the 5th and 6th Doctors in the mid-'80s.
That's right, yeah. I was a big fan of Doctor Who back then. I haven't watched it since it came back, really. Not much. But yeah, I don't remember her, funnily enough, even though I did used to watch it back then. Hadn't done a lot of other stuff though, has she?
No, it didn't look like it. That was the highlight to me. It's just, this is because I only started watching Doctor Who a few years ago, and we started from 2005. Someone said you can start there, and then when you have time, go back. I haven't had time yet.
Okay.
But with her arrival here as Millicent, Ebenezer puts on a pair of earmuffs and tells Baldric to secure the ornaments. Because her shriek is just, that's a lot.
Yeah, she's bad.
Says she thought she'd pop round because, Christmas is a time traditionally connected with presents. And Ebenezer has one for her. It's a hat. But she also notices a scarf and a pair of gloves on the table and takes those as well, even though Ebenezer just told us they were for himself and Baldric.
Yeah.
Just helps herself and then says, I can't stay, but I might come back tomorrow around lunch with my teensy boyfriend. Not sure what that means, but she tells Ebenezer to cook a couple of extra turkeys.
Yeah, well, he might need to if they're all going to be the same size as the one he's got at the moment.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And she's almost out the door before Baldric sarcastically asks her, why don't you take the flippin' tree? And so she does. Yoink.
Which is tiny. It really is just a twig, kids. About 6 inches tall.
Yeah, just a little sprig of a Christmas tree. But not to worry, they still have their turkey and nuts for about 20 more seconds, because now in stumble not 2 portly gentlemen, but 3, and this is how they're credited, enormous orphans.
Yeah, they are. They're all roughly the same size, it appears, as well, though, which is impressive.
Yeah, and all of them are larger than the beadle in charge of their orphanage. Was not familiar with the title beadle.
Wow! Were you not?
No.
You got the beadle in Oliver Twist. You know when he goes,
Oliver Twist.
Yeah, please, sir, can I have some more? The guy that says, more? You want more? That's the beadle.
Okay.
Double check that. If I'm lucky, I might get one of those wrongs. We'll see.
I think you're right. Mr. Bumble, right?
I don't know what the word means, but that's, yeah.
Just person in charge of an orphanage, I guess.
Yeah.
Felicitous compliments of the gorging season to you, sir. Peace on earth and fat tums to all men.
Well, indeed, indeed.
This beadle is played by Dennis Lill. Do you know him from anything specific?
Do you know what? I forgot to look him up. I won't lie to you. But I sort of felt like I recognised him, but nothing sprung. I did look a while ago when I first watched it again, a couple of weeks back.
This is where that Only Fools and Horses you mentioned shows up. He's a character. He's Cassandra's father.
Oh, he is. You're right. There you go. I should have remembered that. He is Cassandra's father. Yeah, he would have been in a lot of the Christmas specials then. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe I'll see him again at some point.
Can I, at one point, I want to talk about one of the larger orphans. What are they called? Orphans?
Sure.
Oversized.
Yeah, the enormous orphans is how they're credited.
So one of them is called David Barber.
David Barber.
He's the only one who's actually got his picture on IMDb. And he's played a character in another thing called Tubbo.
Oh, boy.
And he also played... Now, this is the one that any British listeners might be familiar with, especially if they're my age. He played Fat Bloke in a TV show called Harry Enfield's TV Show, or Harry Enfield and Chums. He had 2. Harry Enfield's a very popular comedian in the UK, especially in the early 90s.
Okay.
And there was a character in it called Fat Bloke. You only saw him once or twice, and they'd always say to him, they'd always, when they were talking about him, they'd always say, Fat Bloke, nice and fat. That was Fat Bloke.
Oh, boy.
There you go.
Yeah. The other 2, there's one of them is played by David Nunn, who was a character in the first series of Blackadder as the messenger.
Oh, that must just be like an extra almost.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And then the 3rd is Erkin Mustafa, who was also in that Grange Hill show for most of the mid-'80s, it looks like.
Oh, hang on. What's his character called? Did you see?
I didn't write that down.
I might have to bloody look that up, actually. Can you pause it a second?
Yeah, we're doing that. To the internet. Roland Browning is the name of the character.
Oh, my God. Is this true?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. That might be Roland Browning. I can't believe it. Roland Browning was like this incredibly, I say popular character. It was a prominent character in it.
Okay.
For being fat. And that was his character. Yeah. And he was just, there was this whole thing about, he was being bullied pretty much constantly.
Okay.
By Gripper Stetson, who was the nastiest guy in school, was always bullying Roland, and but this girl befriended him at school, and she was like trying to help him lose weight, and there was this famous line that she always said was, "I only want to help you, Roland," because she called him Roland, not Roland. Everyone else called him Roly.
Oh boy!
And that was back when I was young. Anyone that was large, you might refer to them as Roly.
Okay.
Roland Brown. Yeah, that's interesting. That was it. I can't believe I didn't notice that.
Huh.
I don't know if you remember this. I don't know if it actually was a thing in the States, but the character, probably not, because otherwise you might know Grange Hill. The characters from Grange Hill, there was a big running storyline about one of the characters got addicted to heroin. So they released a single, the characters from Grange Hill, called Just Say No. And Roland Browning was involved in that, the single. And apparently they went to the States singing their song and met Nancy Reagan.
Okay.
Ronald, but I definitely remember they met Nancy. It was like a big thing that they went to the White House and everything.
Yeah, I mean, well, Nancy Reagan was big with her whole Just Say No campaign, so that makes complete sense.
Yeah, just say no, just say no.
Huh. That sounds familiar.
Oh, wow. Maybe it did make it overseas.
Maybe it did. I mean, every celebrity they could get on that Just Say No campaign they've gotten, so. I do have one more credit that I want to talk about Dennis Lill. Dennis Lill also had a very, very small role in the 1989 Batman movie.
Yeah, I did see that, yeah.
Near the beginning at the newspaper, he's the cartoonist who's making fun of Knox for chasing stories about the Batman by drawing a picture of a vampire bat in a suit and tie. And his character's name is Bob, and the joke there, he's named after Bob Kane, who created Batman.
Bob Kane, of course.
Yeah. And the drawing we see is actually drawn by the real Bob Kane, but he wasn't available to do that scene, so that got Dennis Lill to be Bob Kane.
Yeah, well, he's almost as famous.
There we go. Barges in, tells Ebenezer they've sadly polished off all the traditional Christmas nuts before the big day, so of course Ebenezer offers them his, and they scramble for them and are out the door, promising to be back tomorrow.
That bit always annoyed me because they've got this pile of nuts in a bowl that are clearly all glued together as they're sort of carrying them off. And like the enormous orphans are all reaching across, and it's like they're grabbing them and gobbling them down in their shells and everything.
Yeah.
And I remember that bothered me even back then, that they're all like, I sort of felt like there's a bit of overacting there, boys. You could have done better. You could have done better. Come on, you were on Grange Hill. You played Fat Bloke. You could have done better.
Just gorging on him before. Yeah, no, that was a little much. But now all that's left is the tiny turkey. And Baldric says maybe if they pray to the big pink pixie in the sky, someone will come and reward us. And no sooner do they close their eyes in prayer than the doorbell rings again. And it's the poorly disguised Queen Victoria and Prince Albert.
Good evening. We have come here on a mission to reward the virtuous this Christmas Eve.
Good heavens. And we have heard many stories of your kindness and generosity.
Oh, well, one tries.
So please,
Yes?
give us £10 for the virtuous old lady next door.
Yeah, it was a kick, isn't it?
That sure was. But Ebenezer doesn't have 10 pounds at this point, but he's got a turkey, so they take that and bid him good evening. Well, that was fun. So right before bed, Baldric makes sure to hang up his stocking for Santa, despite Ebenezer saying if he hangs up his own smelly sock, it will kill Santa.
I'm hanging my sock up so Santa will come down the chimney.
Mr. Baldric, I guarantee that if there's one thing liable to stop Santa coming down the chimney, it's your sock waiting for him at the end of it.
So he tells, you haven't ever heard of anyone hanging up their own socks that they wore that day, right?
When I was a kid, I got annoyed with my mum on Christmas Eve. I can't remember what I got annoyed about. So, I don't know. I was whinging about something, as I used to do, and I just remember taking off one of my socks and leaving it at the end of the bed. Like, put your stocking out. And I was like, I'm putting out I just put one of my socks there.
Yeah, stuff this.
Not impressed.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. But I remember when I woke up in the morning, it had been replaced by a proper stocking.
Oh, good.
And it was stuffed with a satsuma and a walnut and a Brazil nut.
Oh, very nice.
And probably a sugar mouse as well.
A sugar mouse. I don't know what a sugar mouse is.
They've had a sugar mouse.
No.
No, they've sort of gone out of fashion now. That was one thing I was
Okay.
guaranteed every year in my stockings. It is a mouse made of sugar, Mike.
Wow.
That is it.
That's the whole thing.
pretty
We're
much a block
missing
of
out
sugar.
on. We need to up our sweet game over here.
Yeah. And often the tail is made of string.
Okay.
Proper string.
Proper
a
string.
piece of string.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Ebenezer tells Baldric to just get one out of his own cupboard and heads off to bed, but not before Baldric tells him someone came over and left a message.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, when you were out there was this enormous ghostly creature coming here saying, "Beware, for tonight you shall receive a strange and terrible visitation." I just thought I'd mention it.
And Ebenezer just laughs it all like, cool, well, good night. I'm kind of bummed that we didn't get that, but that joke in itself is funny. He's like, oh, you had a ghastly visitor.
Yeah, the musical gets dramatic as well, doesn't it?
Right, for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, all right, well,
off to bed.
See you in the morning. And we cut to Ebenezer's bedroom where he's asleep until we hear a high-pitched woo off camera, followed by the door of his bedroom bursting open and onto the floor, and in walks Robbie Coltrane, bathed in an eerie green light, wiggling his fingers and continuing to make those wailing ghost noises. Looking a whole lot like his entrance as Hagrid.
Yes, yeah.
The big bushy beard, and he even broke down the door of the same entrance. Jack, is there anything else that you associate Robbie Coltrane from besides Harry Potter?
So in the late 80s, he was in a show called Tutti Frutti. It was a really popular show when it came out. There was like a mini-series, maybe 6-parters, a one-off thing. And he played like a rock and roll singer. Not like a famous one, just like a local singer. And in it was Emma Thompson as well, and that was like one of her first TV appearances. But I remember it was really popular, so I watched it earlier this year, actually, on YouTube. No, it was on the BBC iPlayer because they replayed it at Christmas last year.
Oh, all right.
And I didn't care for it. Okay. I didn't think much of it at all. I remembered it from all those years ago because they just repeated it last Christmas, and I thought, I'll get around to watching that finally after 30, 40 years. And then, didn't think much of it at all. But then he was in lots of other stuff with the those guys. It's called the comic strip. Are you familiar? You're probably not familiar with the comic strip, but there was a lot of actors.
I'm not familiar with the comic strip.
People like sort of Rowan Atkinson, although I don't know if he was a massive part of the comic strip. Adrian Edmondson, the guys that were in the young ones, that was part of the comic strip.
All right.
Dawn French and Jennifer Saunders, those guys were part of the comic strip. And he was in a couple of their films because they released films as well as TV series. Yeah. He was also Cracker as well. Did you get Cracker over in
I don't
America?
think so.
Never heard of that?
No.
So this is like, he was a police psychiatrist or something, and he would crack cases because he'd like mentally profile the criminals. Huge series, ran for a long time, massively popular. And the funny thing is, he actually wore a padded suit in that to make him even bigger.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really, really popular. Ran for a while, and then they stopped making it. But yeah, everyone loved Cracker. Massive show.
Huh. No, the thing I know Robbie Coltrane from besides Harry Potter is GoldenEye.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, he was a Russian mafia boss in GoldenEye. And then, for some reason, I remember a trailer for a movie he was in with Eric Idle called Nuns on the Run.
Yes, that's right.
That I've never seen this movie, but I remember seeing that trailer. They would play it all the time on the TV for some reason. They were really trying to push Nuns on the Run over here.
It wasn't great.
Didn't look like it.
It was a bit like We're No Angels, but like a poor man. You know We're No Angels?
Yes.
Yeah, so that had Sean Penn and Robert De Niro, and Nuns on the Run had Robbie Coltrane and Eric Idle. Not much of a competition there. He was also in a film called The Pope Must Die, where he played a bloke pretending to be the Pope or something. So the baddies were trying to kill him. But I swear I read this. I don't know how true it is. I thought it was the States, but in some country they had to change the title of it to The Pope Must Diet because they didn't want to,
oh, come on.
He didn't want to upset anyone. So it was so large.
That's a whole different movie.
Well, he was a big guy, so I suppose that was.
I can't. That sounds like a parody of a real movie.
I don't think I ever watched it. It's probably great. It's probably Oscar.
I don't know. Never even heard of it, but Robbie Coltrane doing these silly high-pitched woo noises as Ebenezer just smiles at him and asks, "Can I help?"
Can I help?
No, thanks. No. Just popped in to say hello. Spirit of Christmas, how do you do?
Shakes his hand and introduces himself as the Spirit of Christmas.
That's a letdown, isn't it?
It sure is. I was hoping for 3 of them, but it looks like they just combined them all into one.
Yeah, but why not just say... I suppose he couldn't say the Spirit of Christmas present because he wouldn't be given visions of the past, would he? So they just
right.
Because he looks like the Christmas present.
He does. He looks like a more traditional Santa Claus. Like it looks like he's got like suspenders and a red top.
Yeah, but no, the Spirit of Christmas. That's not the first time I've experienced that either. That's been in... I think it was Bugs Bunny's Christmas Carol. He calls himself the Spirit of Christmas.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they do that when they're just trying to rush things.
Yep.
But says he's doing his usual rounds of getting misers to change their evil ways, but Ebenezer's a good chap, so he just stopped in to say hey. Ebenezer offers him a cup of tea, and the spirit asks if he might have anything a bit more medicinal. He's a spirit. He wants a spirit. But all Ebenezer's got is Nurse McCready's surgical bruise lotion.
Yeah, it's really popular, that is, in the UK. I get through a couple of bottles a week.
The spirit's eyes light up and he helps himself. But Ebenezer's curious now. He asks the spirit how he gets all those evil misers to change their ways. And the spirit explains he shows them visions of their past and how rotten their ancestors were. But in Ebenezer's case, he says it would have to be a full 1 hour and 10 vision with a break in ice cream. But Ebenezer Blackadder has no idea his ancestors were bad people, and the spirit says, oh, yeah, they were stinkers. Want to see? And he waves his hand, does his little blah, and they're transported back to the era of Blackadder II.
So in this first part of this, there's 2 bits in this that I laughed and laughed and laughed when I first saw it. And this first bit I found so incredibly funny when Baldric is holding up a cracker, a tiny little cracker, to Blackadder, and it's going, go on, you know you want to. And when he pulls the cracker, the noise it makes made me laugh
just
so much. Yes, play the noise for us.
Right here.
Give it a little pull. You know you want to. Be ever so exciting.
Oh, God.
Yeah. That, mate, the first time I saw that, I laughed and I rewound it and watched it again. I found it so funny. Yeah.
But Christmas crackers didn't exist that long ago, not in the 1500s, right?
No, they didn't. You're right. Yeah. No. Yeah, so he's called Edmund Blackadder then. I should have mentioned this at the start, because in every single other incarnation of Blackadder, it was always Edmund. And this is the only time where he's called Ebenezer.
Right. But here Baldric asks Lord Edmund if he's got a present for him, and he says, oh, it's nothing, really. No, really, it's nothing. There's no present.
Yeah. So this is set during Elizabethan times, and this was the second series.
Yes.
Where he's like a knight or lord, did you say?
He's a lord. He's Lord Edmund Blackadder during the 1500s.
Yeah, so the first series, I think he was second in line to the throne, I think, in the very first one.
Okay.
And then, so in this one now, his ancestor is a lord. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I think the part of the joke as the series go on, his rank gets lower and lower.
Exactly, which coming up later on doesn't make a lot of sense. But yeah, you're right.
No, it doesn't, now that I'm thinking about it. But no, he pulls on this Christmas cracker with Baldric, and inside is a novelty warrant. Just to play a little practical joke on your friends, but we'll get to that later. Edmund Blackadder walks over to a little curtain and pulls it open to reveal a painted portrait of Queen Elizabeth, which he spent all his money on to give to the Queen. And he brings it into the Queen's throne room, and the Queen is played by Miranda Richardson.
Good morning, Your Majesty. Christmas again, eh? What joy. Don't you just love it?
No, I hate it. In fact, I've just abolished it.
I'm sorry?
I'll block up the chimneys, burn all the crackers, and kill anyone I see carrying a present.
Rita Skeeter.
Rita Skeeter. I think this is the last Harry Potter connection we have of new characters we meet.
Yeah, do you know what? Yes and no, because there are a few others.
Okay.
Well, I think I read. I remember this at the time. In the first Harry Potter, they wanted Rowan Atkinson to play.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, it's Voldemort, didn't they? Yeah, but it never happened. That would have been a big connection, but obviously he didn't, so that's not. But there's another one coming up that I will mention.
Okay. Besides that, I know Miranda Richardson. Well, I know her best from Fred Claus. She was Mrs. Claus in Fred Claus.
Oh, of course she was. Well done. Yes.
Yeah. And Chicken Run. She's the voice of Mrs. Tweedy in Chicken Run.
In the first one.
In the first one.
Ah, I didn't know that. Well, that's good. She was in The Crying Game as well.
Oh, that's right. You know what? I've never seen The Crying Game.
Have you not?
Nope.
Oh, do you know what the twist is?
I sure do.
Oh, don't bother watching it then. Really, without the twist, it ain't that great a film.
Oh well. But here she's Queen Elizabeth I, ripping up a colored construction paper chains, along with her nursie, played by Patsy Byrne, whom Wikipedia says was best known for this, as well as a show called Watching.
Yeah, Watching was a sitcom from about this time, actually, like the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. It was massive at the time, really, really popular. It was just about a young couple getting together, really.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. In an interview, she said that she'd been acting all her life, and it wasn't until she was like in her 50s, I think, when she became Nursey in Blackadder, that suddenly she became really famous.
I mean, it's a great character here.
You always used to love this time of year.
Leaving a little mince pie and a glass of wine out for Father Christmas, and then scoffing it, because I was a princess who can do what I bloody well like.
I'm wondering if your father's wife would last till Boxing Day without having her head cut off.
We knew if he gave her a hat, she'd probably be all right.
It is, but it's not even a big character, but she became really recognisable from it.
Okay. And Lord Edmund asks the Queen, don't you just love Christmas? And she says, no, I hate it. In fact, I've just abolished it. She adds, I ought to kill anyone I see carrying a present, and looks at the portrait behind the curtain Lord Edmund is carrying and asks, what's that? And he says, oh, it's a window. Oops, you already have one. Sorry. And he leaves.
So at this point, we haven't talked about who wrote this.
No.
Should we do that now?
Go ahead.
Well, this is interesting because all 4 seasons and all the specials were written by Richard Curtis.
Okay.
But starting from this season, he wrote them with Ben Elton. I don't know if you're familiar with Ben Elton.
I'm not.
No, well, he's a very famous comedian and also TV writer in the UK. He's written a lot of novels as well. I think I've read all his novels, actually.
Oh, wow.
But so he didn't write any of the first season, but this is when he started writing it, the second. But Richard Curtis, obviously, we know from he wrote a lot of the Mr. Bean stuff, and of course, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, and then of course Love Actually, which all us Christmas aficionados would know. And he's got another film coming out this Christmas called That Christmas.
Oh yeah,
you've seen this advertised, have you?
I haven't seen it advertised, but I've seen like a news story that this is happening.
Yeah, so I think Brian Cox does the voice. It's the computer animated thing, and Brian Cox does the voice of Santa in that.
Okay.
Yeah, I noticed. So Ben Elton, he also wrote some of the Mr. Bean stuff.
Okay.
And another show called The Thin Blue Line, which is a comedy set in a police station. And Rowan Atkinson obviously was in Bean and The Thin Blue Line. That was a really popular show as well. That one ran for 2 or 3 seasons. Yeah.
Okay. I know of that one. I've never watched it. But...
Okay. Yeah, but Ben Elton, very famous in the UK, especially like again in the late 80s, early 90s as a stand-up and that.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, right. I've
no, thank you. No, I would have skipped right over that. But Lord Edmund goes back outside, opens the curtain, punches the portrait in the face with Baldric right behind it. That got a big laugh out of me.
Yeah, that was a running thing of him punching Baldric. It's very common throughout the whole Blackadder thing. I'd say an interesting thing while we're here, though. You say about Blackadder's rank going down and down. In the first season of Blackadder was a bit of an imbecile, and Baldric was the intelligent one. and then their roles reversed pretty much from the second season onwards, and Baldric became more and more thick.
Okay.
And Blackadder became more and more sort of clever and conniving.
Huh. And it started with this second series.
Second series, yeah.
Yeah. I really need to go back and watch this. Like, this is getting me to want to watch the rest of it.
Well, it's only 24 episodes, so it won't take you long.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 6 episodes per season. So
well, then I got to. I did see it was on Hulu, just these specials were not.
Oh, is that right? Oh, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, check it out then. So, what's that? If it's 6 episodes, you're only looking at, hang on, what did I say? 24 episodes, 12 hours.
Yeah.
You do that in a day. There you go.
I can handle that. All right. Know what I'm doing after this. But we then meet another lord named Melchett, who is played by Stephen Fry.
Greetings. I trust that Christmas brings you its traditional mix of good food and violent stomach cramp.
And compliments of the season to you, Blackadder. May the Yuletide log slip from your fire and burn your house down.
Yes.
Who's done so much. We'd be here all night just trying to go over everything Stephen Fry's done.
Well, I was thinking about this. What do you know him from the most then?
I know him the most from, well, I really like that Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie he narrated. I know it's a lonely hill to die on, but I believe, was he the one who did the Harry Potter audiobooks?
That's the other connection I was going to say about. So he was the narrator of all the Harry Potter books, yeah.
And my wife is a huge fan of everything Alice in Wonderland. He voiced the Cheshire Cat in Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland movies.
Yeah, he did. You're right. Yeah. So before this, actually around about the same time as this, he was in a show called A Bit of Fry and Laurie, which is Hugh Laurie who's coming up, and him. It was like a sketch show. It was really funny, actually. I really enjoyed that. And then they were in a show called Jeeves and Wooster, which are based on a lot of books by bollocks. I can't remember the guy's name now. They're a really famous series of books.
Jeeves and Wooster. Never heard of that one. I've heard of this Bit and Fry and Laurie, though.
Oh, you have? So Jeeves and Wooster is pretty much about this not very clever posh guy and his butler, who's very clever, and they were the perfect double act to be in that in that show, and it was really popular. Again, like massively popular when that came out. I watched a few episodes, but not a massive amount. I've read some of the books actually as well. Yeah, P.G. Wodehouse or P.G. Wodehouse. Yeah, those are the books. Jeeves and Wooster. And they played Bertie, Wooster, and Jeeves. Yeah.
And Jeeves.
That's where you get asked Jeeves from, you see. The Jeeves the butler was from.
Oh, is that it? Okay. I mean, Jeeves is like the typical butler name.
Yeah, because of those books. They're very old. They're very old books. Yeah. I've got a feeling they're all in the public domain now. I could be wrong. They might not be that old.
Okay.
But yeah, so.
Well, all right.
But also he hosts a show called QI. Is that a thing?
Oh, I feel like I've seen something like that on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, maybe on YouTube. Yeah,
like
maybe not.
Clip of QI.
So it's just a show. QI stands for quite interesting, and each series was focused on a separate letter. So the first series was A, and it's going to go all the way up to 26 when they finish, I guess. And I think he made it halfway, and then he moved to the States. And yeah, so someone else took over presenting that show. But it's really good because they've got some really good Christmas episodes where you learn loads of really interesting things about Christmas. So boys and girls, it might be worth checking those out.
Yeah, I'm going to go check these out now. Thank you. But Lord Blackadder wishes Lord Melchett a Christmas that brings him, quote, its traditional mix of good food and violent stomach cramp. And Melchett reciprocates with, may the Yuletide log slip from your fire and burn your house down. So that's the relationship we're dealing with here. Good old frenemies.
Yeah.
And Edmund takes this opportunity to warn his rival that the Queen has banned Christmas, so don't get her anything. And of course, Melchett thinks he's lying and makes his exit. But that was part of Edmund's plan. He expected Melchett to think he'd lie to him, so he's setting up to think Christmas is on, and he'll get the Queen a present, and then...
He'll turn into a duck.
What, he'll turn into a duck?
He'll turn into a duck. Thank you.
I like that line. Yeah. That was a good line. They did well with that one. Sadly, I feel like this has aged quite a bit. I didn't find it as funny as I did back in the day, but there's still a lot of good lines in it.
It got a laugh out of me.
Yeah.
Back in the throne room, Nursey points out to the Queen that she used to love Christmas, and the Queen turns around, and she's holding a very large ball of Christmas pudding. Just a big round ball of it, just icing drizzled on top.
She's like cradling it.
Like one would hold a teddy bear. Yeah.
Cradling it and stroking her.
Right. They both reminisce about Christmases past, and the Queen admits maybe she was a little rash. And that is when the two lords enter, and Melchett gives her the gift of a new crown, smirking at Edmund, thinking he saw through what he thought was a clever ruse. But Edmund's double bluff backfires when the Queen accepts it, says, "Oh, I love presents." And Edmund rolls his eyes.
Oh, that's fab! I love presents. For a moment I took against Christmas, but now I'm completely dippy about it again. In fact, I'd like to marry you. If you weren't as unattractive as a giant slug.
But Melchett loves her sense of humor. The two share a laugh, and the Queen offers to reward him with a castle, a new title, and a devilishly saucy wife. She thinks for a moment and then suggests Lady Jane Pottle. Then realizes, wait, that's Blackadder's girl at the moment, but oh, that doesn't matter. Then she asks Edmund, "What did you get me?" Adding, "I want something nice and shiny, or else I've got something nice and shiny for you. It's called an axe." And he's already ruined the portrait for her, so he's got nothing.
That was a big thing of her just wanting to cut people's heads off all the time in the previous series and that. So
okay,
yeah, it's like a running joke. Her wanted to kill everyone, cut their heads off.
Any last requests, Blackadder, before I chop your block off and put it on top of the crimble tree?
I had never heard anyone call it crimble until maybe a few years ago. Is that a fairly common thing?
Crimbo, more
Crimbo.
Crimble, yeah, Crimbo, really common. People talk about Crimbo a lot, but Crimble, I tend not to. I've never been a fan of the term, but Crimble, you don't hear as much. No.
There's a "Do You Hear What I Hear" segment for you. Bob, I know you're listening.
Yeah.
Take notes.
Pay attention, Bob.
So Lord Edmund is rifling through his pockets and finds the death warrant from the Christmas cracker. So he tells both the Queen and Melchett that he actually admires them both so much and asks for their autographs. And they happily oblige, and oh, would you look at that? The Queen just signed Lord Melchett's death warrant. And hey, that's the Queen's signature. Can't get more official than that. And the Queen loves it. She thought it was a great trick, so she'll execute Melchett instead. And then Nursey laughs maniacally out of nowhere.
Tell you what, Blackadder, that's so brilliant. I'll execute Melchett instead.
Yeah, that was another thing that she did a lot, though.
Oh, did she? Okay.
Yeah, she was like just almost like a Muttley from Dick Dastardly sidekick.
Wow, that's a reference. Melchett tries to tell the Queen she's been tricked, but too late. Lord Edmund snaps his fingers at him and hands him the crown. Edmund gives it to the Queen with a "Merry Christmas, Mom."
Everything of Lord Melchett's becomes yours.
I suppose it does. Merry Christmas, Mum.
Stealing's now on BBC One, but I'm assured there follows a seasonal tale of unbearable cuteness. Blackadder's Christmas Carol.
Sir, he's defecting.
Sir Brian, we've got him. He's calling 0800 492929. He's gone over to...
Barclaycard.
To Barclaycard.
He's swapping his old credit card for a Barclaycard, and they're knocking £150 off the balance.
Sorry to wake you, Sir Brian. Technical problem. Now, let's see...
Ow! Call 0800 492929 and defect now.
Hi, I'm Bob.
And I'm Mark.
And we are the Festive Foreign Film Fans.
Try saying that 3 times fast.
I know. We read your minds. Among all those angry hosts and shows with people doing bad things to each other,
plus the many "'Tis the Cozy Total Christmas in the 80s" podcasts you were thinking, you know the world needs another Christmas podcast.
And why not? All those murderers, they get so many popular shows. But what about Christmas? It never killed anyone. So join us on the 6th and the 25th of each month as we explore our shared humanity and the movies and music of different countries through a common holiday that we all share.
And we may offer some relationship advice or even solve a crime or two.
Wow!
Festive Foreign Film Fans.
And that's the end of Ebenezer Blackadder's first vision. But he's less horrified and more intrigued by his ancestors' actions. The spirit of Christmas tells him, right, what a pig! And Ebenezer adds, yes, but a clever, charming pig. The spirit says, but you're a great improvement on them all. And Ebenezer says, them? There's more? So now we're treated to a vision from Blackadder III. This is Edmund Blackadder, Esquire, butler to the Prince Regent. And there's Hugh Laurie.
Ah, hurrah! Welcome, lads. Oh, this is the stuff, eh? Christmas sherry and charades with honest, manly fellows. I mean, for heaven's sake, what can I do with a girl that I can't do with you, eh?
I cannot conceive, sir.
There he is. Yes. So I just want to talk about the Regency. Are you aware of what the term means? The Prince Regent?
No.
So a Regency is a thing. If you're a regent, you are the monarch's sort of substitute. If the monarch is incapacitated, then the regent would rule, and that's his position. So he's the Prince Regent because King George, one of the Georges or a couple of the Georges, were a bit loopy. They were mental.
Okay.
And so you had the Regency times, which was quite a fairly long period in history, when the Prince Regent was in charge and ran the show.
Just the acting monarch.
Pretty much, yeah, that's it, yeah.
Okay.
So Hugh Laurie, were you aware of him before House?
He was in the Stuart Little movies over here.
Oh, he was, you're right, yeah.
So that, and between House and Stuart Little, I feel like a lot of Americans don't even know that he's English, but...
So he, like I said, was in a bit of Fry and Laurie, and also both Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie were in episodes of The Young Ones as well, back in the day. And yeah, of course, like I say, he was in Jeeves and Wooster, and then, he went to the States and never looked back.
No, he didn't. The only other thing I remember Hugh Laurie from before House would have been the remake of 101 Dalmatians. He was Jasper in that.
He was, you're right. Yeah, that's one of the bad guys, yeah?
One of the bad guys. It was him and Mark Williams, funnily enough, was the other one, was Horace.
Did you ever hear any of his blues stuff that he released?
No.
Oh, did you not? No.
No.
He did quite well, I think. He had an album where he sort of sung blues, and I think he played the piano or some blues guitar or something.
Really?
Yeah, maybe like 10, 15 years ago.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course we mentioned he was also in Arthur Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
And Americans listening, if you have not watched Arthur Christmas, give it a watch.
Yeah, we'll give it one watch.
What? Oh, yeah.
Nah, not a fan.
Okay.
Nah, didn't do it for me.
I thought it was cute. But Edmund Blackadder is tired of the prince getting all the Christmas presents while he gets none, so he hatches up a scheme with yet another ancestor of Baldric, gives him a big bag with a disguise inside, and we'll see how that pans out in a bit. But yeah, the Prince Regent is there with Lord Nelson, who is passed out drunk in a chair and wearing an eye patch, for Christmas.
But Lord Nelson did have an eye patch.
Oh, did he? The actual Lord Nelson?
Yeah, well, he was very famous for putting the telescope to his blind eye and saying, "I see no ships."
Okay, well, that makes sense now. I was wondering about that. It was just, okay, for Christmas.
Yeah, no, a blind eye is for life, not just for Christmas. Mike.
Yeah, I guess. That'd be weird. Lord Nelson is played by Philip Pope, who's better known as a composer. He wrote songs for Not the 9 O'Clock News and a show called Spitting Image. I don't know that one.
Okay, Spitting Image was huge. That was a puppet show.
A puppet show?
Yeah, where they would mock famous people.
Oh, you know what? And they were they had a very specific style to them.
That's the one.
These puppets,
so the puppets were made by people. I think they were called Fluck and Law, the company that made the puppets.
Okay.
And it ran for many, many years. And I remember when it finished, though. She was at 96, 97. But it ran for like a good 15 years. But it was hugely popular. I remember Sunday nights, Spitting Image. But it was always right on the money. Do you know what I mean? It was coming out just as... each week with the news. They'd mock the news each week with these rather hideous puppets. But they...
I can picture them.
they had a couple of singles came off that as well, actually, and one of them got to #1 for weeks.
Really?
The chicken song.
The chicken song.
Yeah, it was released from the show Spit and Image, and it was #1 for like 4 weeks or something. Yeah.
Okay. The other notes I have about Philip Pope is he wrote the theme music to a number of shows, including a bit of Fry and Laurie and the original Whose Line Is It Anyway? That saxophone theme.
Ah. Yeah, that was a British show originally. Did you know that?
I did know that because
You did?
our Comedy Central over here would play reruns of that all the time.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Like right when ours started, Comedy Central were like, all right, well, we'll pick up the old ones. So I would watch a lot of the old ones.
Was it presented by Drew Carey, the American version?
Yes.
Yeah, so he was quite often a contestant in the UK version.
Okay.
That's the only time I've really seen Drew Carey much.
Oh, really?
In the UK, yeah, pretty much that in the original version of Whose Line Is It Anyway?
That makes sense. But Lord Nelson is out cold, but Prince George wants to play a game of charades. So Baldric's up first. He mimes opening a book, and Edmund says, it's a book, and Baldric says, well done. That's supposed to indicate you're thinking of the title of a book, Edmund explains, to both Baldric and the prince, or as he calls them, the Thicky twins.
To their faces.
To their faces. And he goes on with a long tirade explaining how charades are supposed to work, and the prince gets bored and asks for a story.
Do you know what? Can I just stop here?
Go ahead.
He says, if you're doing the Bible, it's got 2 syllables, and he holds up 2 fingers. And that's not how you do syllables, is it? Do you know how to do syllables when you're doing charades?
It's been a long time.
If you hold up 3 fingers, that means it's 3 words.
It's 3 words.
Yeah, but if you hold the 3 fingers against your arm, that's the syllables.
Oh, that's syllables. That's right.
Yeah, and I was a bit disappointed in that. But then I did find the joke really funny where he's talking about there's 2 syllables, and Hugh Laurie's going,
2 silly bulls? You say like that, not in the Bible. I can remember a fatted calf, but as I recall, that was quite a sensible animal.
there's 2, and then he goes, no, Scylla. He goes, well, this is all getting a bit Scylla to me. And I've used that line before myself.
Have you?
Yeah, no one's got the reference, I'm sure, but it always stuck in my head, that bit.
But when someone does, it's going to be great.
It'll never happen.
Okay. So Lord Edmund Esquire here prepares to tell the Christmas story.
Shall I begin the Christmas story?
Absolutely. As long as it's not that terribly depressing one about the chap who gets born on Christmas Day, shoots his mouth off about everything under the sun, and then comes a cropper with a couple of rum coves on top of a hill in Johnny Arab land.
You mean Jesus?
Yes, that's right. Keep him out of it. He always spoils the Xmas atmos.
Certainly, sir.
I like the Rumco's bit. I've never heard the term Rumco.
Nope.
What's that? Rumco's.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
And right here is when Lord Nelson wakes up, but he only opens the eye behind the patch and screams, I've gone blind!
Oh my God! I've gone blind! Blind!
And Edmund helpfully moves the eye patch to Nelson's other eye, and he goes, oh, that's better, and falls back asleep.
That's it. That was his 2 lines, wasn't it?
That's his contribution to this. And Edmund begins to tell a story about a handsome young prince and a sad, lonely old woman who's dying of cold on Christmas night. But then she knocked on the door of a handsome young prince whose name was George, who gave her all his Christmas presents, and she lived happily ever after. And this Prince George is moved to tears at the touching but rather short story. When suddenly the doorbell rings and Edmund answers it and tells the prince it's a sad, lonely old granny who's dying of cold. And in she waddles, and the prince tells her to take whatever she wants of his presents. And Edmund asks, shall I see her out and make sure she doesn't steal the silver on the way out? And the prince is feeling very generous after hearing that story and says, no, tell her to take that too. So she does.
My favourite bit here is just the old lady's like, thank you, sir. I just love that. I love the little voice.
Yeah.
Take all you want, Granny. You have found Georgie Porgy, a handsome prince.
Thank you, sir.
So that Edmund shows her out and then says, excellent, Baldric, but finds the hallway empty. Where's Baldric? And here he comes in a different and much less concealing old lady costume.
Yeah.
Baldric!
Sorry, Mr. B. I was just showing a sweet old granny to the door. Are we ready yet, sir?
Baldric apologizes, and Edmund tells him it's all right, it's not your fault. Then he punches him in the face. Then adds, I fear for a frail old woman traveling with a bunch of valuables through the inadequately lit streets of London, and goes after her as we fade back to Ebenezer again, who's even more amused by that vision, and the confused spirit of Christmas now sitting up in Ebenezer's bed with him, still holding that bottle of bruise lotion, asks, what's amusing about that? And Ebenezer said, oh, it's the wigs. He says his ancestors' behavior was disgraceful, but then again, he actually got the presents. So is there something to be made out of being bad? And the spirit reluctantly admits, well, technically, yes, but that's not the point. And just as he starts to leave, Ebenezer interrupts him. So out of curiosity, if I started behaving badly, what would happen in the future? Now he's intrigued. He wants to see Christmas future, and the spirit gives up. All right. And now we're shown a distant future in which the universe is ruled by Queen Asphyxia.
Hail, Queen Asphyxia, supreme mistress of the universe.
And hail to you, my triple husbandoid.
Also played by Miranda Richardson, who reminds me a little of Meteora from the Christmas Toy.
Oh, the way she talks. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, very good.
And the hair a little bit.
Yep, it's there. Yeah.
Just she's in a white dress, though. Everyone's wearing white in the future.
White and gold, yeah.
Mm-hmm. She's seated on her throne with 3 men who make up her triple husbandoid.
Well, it's 2 men and a lady, isn't it?
2 men and a lady. You're right. Yeah, because one of them is Patsy Byrne again. In this weird, almost robotic sort of setup. She looks like a Dalek with a human head, is what I wrote down. And then Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie tells her triple husbandoid that they're there to greet their Imperial Navy's home, and she calls in Grand Admiral Blackadder.
Approach, Grand Admiral of the Dark Segment and Lord of the High-Slung Bottoms of Zob.
Morning.
To you, Blackadder, thrice endowed supreme donkey of the trouser pod, this much greeting.
I too, bold navigator, cringe my dribblers at your resplendent puffle snoot.
Yes, well, that won't be necessary, thank you.
He's wearing a shiny metal spacesuit with a bunch of buttons and wires and things, and he's the one with an eye patch now.
Yeah, some electronic-looking thing shoved in there, yeah.
And of note, he's got the little squiggly Blackadder family symbol on his logo there.
No, well spotted. Yes.
Yeah, just they took enough care to think of that. And Queen Asphyxia also calls forth the Grand Admiral's slave, Baldric, who's wearing leather boots, bikini briefs, and a studded collar and wristbands, and that's it.
Yeah, he's got no shame. Oh, Tony Robinson, he's quite happy to stand there.
I think he tells him, if you're going to wear that, at least keep your legs closed, I think is what he says.
Exactly, yeah.
They all say a bunch of space things to each other here. Something about the sheep squeezers of Splatican 5.
I noticed Hugh Laurie's got his, doing an American accent there.
Yeah, it's not quite his house accent, but...
I feel like he's auditioning, though.
Oh, could be, yeah.
He's like, look at me, America, I can do an American accent.
Last Commander, did you vanquish the Nibble Pibblies?
No, my Lord Pigmot, I did not vanquish the Nibble Pibblies because you just made them up.
The way I'll describe Hugh Laurie's accent, it's broadcast voice over here, which...
Yes, yeah.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about, like TV news anchors.
I know exactly what you mean, yep.
That's what Hugh Laurie's doing here, and it's hilarious. He got better by the time he got to house, but you're right, it is his audition, sort of. And Queen Asphyxia is pleased with this report and commands Blackadder to bring forth a gift for her, and he holds up this silver contraption that looks like a rod with a very spiky ball on one end of it.
See what, it reminded me of the thing on The Day the Earth Stood Still. You remember when a guy comes out?
Oh, yeah. Oh, how did I not connect that? Yeah.
And he holds it up, and it sort of opens up, doesn't it? And they all shoot him because because they think it's a weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of what happens here. The queen wants to know what it is, and Blackadder raises it in the air. A very bright beam of light fills the screen, and when it fades, all 3 members of the triple husbandoid have vanished.
I think Baldric's gone as well, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah, Baldric's gone as well. And the Grand Admiral says, respectfully, he insists that he give him his supreme command of the universe and marry him. And the Queen says, I thought you'd never ask. And they both put their hands on one of those plasma globe lamps as we fade back to Ebenezer in the spirit of Christmas in his bedroom. And now Ebenezer's just delighted.
Yeah, see, this is the bit we were talking about earlier. The fact that, his rank through the generations was going less and less. And then suddenly he becomes the grand ruler of the whole universe.
Yeah. We're not sure how that happens. But
yeah, not quite. Yeah.
But after that vision, Ebenezer needs to confirm. So let's get this straight. Because this is his, if I was a bad person, how would my future end up?
Yeah.
And then the spirit of Christmas is on defense now. It's like, well, would you be happy? Ruling the universe isn't all that's cracked up to be. There's long hours. You have to wave at people a lot. But Ebenezer has to know now what would happen if he continued being as good and generous as he is. What would his future look like then? And now the spirit says, listen, it's getting late. I've got work to do.
Well, I really must put my foot down here. I've got 4 hauntings and I scare the bugger to death to do before morning.
This is where Ebenezer does the finger thing himself, and it works. Could he have done that the whole time, or just in the presence of the ghost of Christmas to make it work?
I've no idea what's going on.
I don't know. Like, if you want your TV remote to work, you have to be near the TV, I guess.
That's it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But back to the future we go. And it's the same scene with Queen Asphyxia and her triple husbandoid. It starts exactly the same, only this time she summons the Grand Admiral, and it's Baldric, wearing that same crazy space armor with the snake symbol on it. That was interesting.
Oh, yeah.
They could only make one crazy space armor, I guess.
Well, yeah, but there's a big height difference, isn't there? So it must be, I'm guessing it is the same outfit. But it's like nearly a foot between them. Tony Robinson is a very small bloke.
Yeah.
Tell you what, his miss isn't, though. The one who's 35 years younger than him, she's taller than him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, all right. But when the queen calls forth his slave, it's the future Blackadder in the same boots and bikini briefs Baldric was wearing before.
Yeah.
Long, wavy hair. Also different this time is Baldric's report is less than triumphant.
Sorry, I got a bit confused and dropped a bomb on our own lot.
Silence, squidling! Bring forth the gift with which you honor me.
Oh, damn, I forgot the bloody present.
And then we don't get to see what happens. It fades back to Ebenezer's room, and he finally realizes, if I start being bad, I get everlasting glory. If I continue being good, I'm, as he puts it, wearing Baldric's posing pouch. And now the spirit of Christmas is still trying to tell him, look, the lesson here is that the rewards of virtue are largely spiritual.
You don't think it points the very clear lesson that bad guys have all the fun?
No, absolutely not. The rewards of virtue are infinitely more attractive. Picture it. Quiet evenings in your hovel alone. A Bible, your own turnip.
That sold it to me.
Oh, yeah. The turnip is the coup de grace right there. And look, when those are the only visions you're given, yeah, it sure looks like bad guys have all the fun is the clear lesson. So the spirit couldn't have stopped here during his break, or else he'd have better examples to show him. I figure he does research for his other hauntings. But whatever, the spirit asks him, are you going to be a good boy then? And Ebenezer says, oh, absolutely. Would I lie to you? That's good enough for the spirit of Christmas. And he walks backward out the door, dramatically wooing just as when he arrived.
Well, they've just reused the footage there, haven't they, and reversed it.
Yeah, it's just him. It's just the reverse footage of his entrance, including the knockdown door magically returns to its hinges.
Aye.
But I thought that was a nice touch. I'm like, he's really good at doing that.
Well, I'm glad his door was back on at the end of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And we then cut to Ebenezer waking up in his bed on Christmas morning to the ringing of church bells and Baldric holding up his empty sock to show him Santa must have forgotten about him again this year. And Ebenezer takes the sock and says, well, wait, look again. There's something in this stocking for me. And he puts his hand in it and reveals it's a fist. It's for hitting. And he punches Baldric in the face multiple times because it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, I do like that bit. They made a lot of decent jokes about punching Baldric throughout the whole series. So yeah, there's a really famous one because I'm incredibly tired at the moment, Baldrick, and I can't be bothered to punch you, so I'm going to hold out my fist. Could you just come running at it? Runs at his fist and collapses on the floor after he hits
If you're in the way, it's your own fault. And so the rest of Christmas morning shows everyone who came around on Christmas Eve coming around again, only to meet a very different Ebenezer this time. Starting with the boy who knocks on the bedroom window and asks for another penny for Christmas cheer, and Ebenezer just opens the door, sending the kid falling from the street.
Yes, yeah.
Looks around like, I must have imagined it.
No Walker.
No Walker.
No Walker. Didn't tell him to go and get a turkey or anything.
No. Then the doorbell rings and Baldrick asks if he should answer it, and Ebenezer says no. Leave them out in the snow until I get dressed. It'll only be about 40 minutes.
That's it.
Yeah, that's all.
This is the other bit that I laughed and laughed when I was a kid. I found it so funny when he opens the door and they sing their Christmas carol.
Oh, the Christmas carol. It's the orphans and the beetle again they're singing. I wrote this down.
God bless Mr. B at Christmas time and baby Jesus too. If we were little pigs, we'd sing Piggy, wiggy, 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 woo.
Piggy, wiggy, 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 wiggy.
And that's
it gets higher and higher.
Oh, it was great.
And I remember, the thing is, sadly, it's sort of worn off on me and I didn't find it as funny, but
oh no,
first few times I saw that, I cried and cried with laughter.
Oh, I loved that.
Yeah, these enormous orphans.
Yeah, and also because they've been standing outside for 40 minutes, they all have icicles hanging from their noses.
That's it. Yep.
Ebenezer gives a sarcastic applause and calls it utter crap and then gives them the Christmas treat of a door in the face.
The problem I've got is all these people keep coming back. He's got nothing left anyway.
Right.
So it's like, why they've rinsed him dry and yet they still wrung him dry. Sorry, let's get it right. I don't want another wrong. And why is everyone coming around again? He's got nothing to give them, has he?
Well, they don't know that.
No, I guess so. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, anything he's got. Then he tells Baldrick to open the door back up. Ebenezer takes their pudding and shuts it again.
Tiny little pudding, isn't it? The size of a tennis ball. Pudding.
Not like that big one the queen had. But she's the queen. But next is Millicent, and as promised, with her fiance Ralph, who's got an equally terrible screeching laugh.
This is Ralph. He's my fiance.
We're in love.
Did you get the actor's name for this one?
Yes, Ralph is played by Ramsay Gilderdale. Wikipedia tells me he's best known from that Maid Marian and Her Merry Men show as Sir Guy of Gisborne.
Exactly, that's it, yeah. What was his name again? That's a proper name, wasn't it?
Sir Guy of Gisborne.
No, not Guy of Gisborne. We've all had a Guy of bloody Gisborne.
Oh, Ramsay Gilderdale.
Ramsay Gilderdale. Goodness me.
That's a name.
That is a name. Why aren't I called Ramsay Gilderdale Jack Ford? That's crap compared to Ramsay Gilderdale. I couldn't even stand in his shoes. So his character, Guy of Gisborne, is pretty much the same as Ralph in this.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, he's the king's, not the kid, is it the king's nephew or something? And he's just a complete imbecile that plays very much similar voice and everything as this cat. He's nothing like the Guy of Gisborne you might be familiar with.
No, of course not.
Prince of Thieves or whatever. You've not heard of Guy of Gisborne before?
I have, from that Prince of Thieves, like from the Robin Hood story.
He's in a lot of the Robin Hood stories, Guy of Gisborne. He's a proper famous character from olden times. Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, yeah. Oh, you knew that. Sorry. Okay, carry on.
That's all right. Anyway, Ebenezer asks Ralph, are you sure you can take care of my goddaughter in the manner in which she is accustomed? And Ralph says yes, and shows Ebenezer his wallet, which he takes and looks through. And as Ralph keeps his hand outstretched, expecting the wallet back, Ebenezer just shakes his hand and says, oh, congratulations. Good day. And the couple laugh awkwardly at what they think is a joke before Ebenezer shouts, out! And they're sent out crying.
Crying. Yeah, crying.
Ebenezer then gives Baldrick the money from Ralph's wallet, tells him,
Baldrick, I want you to take this and go out and buy a turkey so large you'd think its mother had been rogered by an omnibus.
Lovely thought.
Yeah, I had to look that up. An omnibus. Yeah, an omnibus is just a collected book, isn't it? A collection.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. I thought, is there something? Oh, I'm missing something? Let's not discuss this any further.
Yeah, Ebenezer said he's going to throw a party, but no one's invited but himself. So Baldrick heads out, and as he does, in walks Mrs. Scratchit.
I was wondering if you had perhaps a little present for me? Or had found me a little fowl for Tiny Tom's Christmas?
I've always found you foul, Mrs. Scratchit, and more than a little. As for Tiny Tom's Christmas, he can stuff it up his enormous muscular backside.
That's right, yeah.
Mrs. Scratchit reminds him, but he's a cripple. And Ebenezer replies, no, he's not. Occasionally saying my leg hurts when he remembers to wouldn't fool Baldric. And then Baldric comes back in and said, yes, it did.
I like that.
He does offer Mrs. Scratchit something for lunch. It's a bucket of what he says is a pound of lump, and I'm not sure I want to know what sort of lump is in there.
Yeah, I sort of felt like that was maybe a joke from earlier, so we're supposed to know what's in this bucket, but
No.
there's nothing written on the bucket, is there?
No, there's nothing written on it. It's just brown something seeping from the top of it.
Yeah, no idea what it's meant to be.
Nope.
It's in a moustache shop, though. Maybe it's moustache glue. I don't know, I'm guessing.
There we go. Maybe it's that. Let's go with that. Then reaches into her basket, takes out the cash, says, thank you, and sends her away. And the door rings one more time as Ebenezer goes into the other room, and this time it's Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, still in disguise.
Is this the house of the great philanthropist and all-round softy Ebenezer Blackadder?
Well, Mr. Blackadder lives here.
Ah, that is good, because we have a wunderbar secret.
What secret?
Ha! If I were to tell you that we're going to give him an enormous fortune for being so generous, then it would no longer be a secret. Damn, I'm so stupid. Damn.
She hands over the royal seal.
Yes.
And I don't know if that is a thing or not. I just, because they do mention it later. And I don't know if that's a thing. I should have looked it up, but I couldn't be bothered.
I didn't. I just assumed, well, because Blackadder mentions it. So it is in this universe. Just
there you go.
The queen reveals herself and presents the royal seal to prove that it's her. Says they've come to give Ebenezer £50,000 and the title of Baron Blackadder for being the kindest man of all England. But then Ebenezer walks back in and asks Baldric why he hasn't slammed the door in their faces yet. Baldric stammers to try and explain, but Ebenezer slams the door for him, first into Baldric's face and then in the faces of the queen and the prince.
Oh, that's right. He gets the double in, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. Walks back into the other room, and now the royal couple have helped themselves in, as Albert tries to explain, but we're rather special guests.
Oh, of course. I must apologize. It isn't often that one receives a Christmas visit from two such distinguished guests.
Ah, so you recognize us at last.
Yes, unless I'm very much mistaken, you're the winner of the Round Britain shortest, fattest, dumpiest woman competition. And for her to be accompanied by the winner of this year's stupidest accent award is really quite overwhelming. Talk it.
And he goes on a tirade and he walks the royal couple out of the shop and slams the door again. And then we cut to Christmas dinner with Ebenezer enjoying the huge turkey by himself. He offers Baldric a wishbone, breaks it, wishes there was some meat on it.
That was good.
Ebenezer jokes that yelling at those last two visitors felt like having to go with the real Queen and Prince Albert, and Baldric tells him here it was the real Queen and Prince Albert. And here's where he says, no, they would have shown him the royal seal, and Baldric shows it to him like, oh, you mean this one? And Ebenezer just stares at it as we cut to the credits. And that's it.
There we go, yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
We didn't talk about the director, actually. I just wanted to mention him, Richard Bowden.
Sure.
So he directed Blackadder Goes Forth, which was the series that followed on from this. But he also directed a show called A Christmas Carol Goes Wrong, which wasn't that long ago. Like, I think maybe the last 5 years. I don't know if you listen to Merry Britsmas. You should if you don't.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so Adam covered that on there in one episode. And also, which I found quite interesting, he directed one episode of Just Shoot Me. Did you ever watch that? Yeah, with
David Spade?
David Spade. Yeah, that's it.
I haven't watched it, but I know it.
I was familiar with it. I think I may have watched 1 or 2 episodes. But yeah, he directed one episode.
Huh.
There you go. Yeah, that's Richard Bowden.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts on Blackadder's Christmas Carol?
Yeah, it's just a shame that it's aged. I thought
Yeah.
I was nearly 40 years old, isn't it? It's 36 years old. So I think back then I thought it was the greatest thing, and I did watch it at least a dozen times, I'd say.
Okay.
But I'm just, when I watched it this time, it had been over 20 years since I'd last seen it, I imagine. And it didn't do it for me as much, but I did enjoy it still. Yeah.
Yeah. What I appreciated about this, besides reversing the arc of the whole Christmas Carol story, is that I didn't need to know any backstory of the rest of the show to follow along. It's explained well enough.
Yes.
Like, look at how terrible your ancestors were. And that's all I needed to understand. And that worked for me.
Aye, yeah.
But I do feel like I should seek out the rest of this series, especially now that I know it's on Hulu.
Yeah, the only thing is, again, we're looking at stuff that's around 40 years old. You might think that's aged as well.
Yeah, you're right.
Check it out, see what you think.
Yeah.
You might enjoy it.
Go in with that knowledge of this is almost 40 years old now, so parts of it aren't going to hold up. But Jack, thank you so much for joining me again. This was great.
Oh, no, I love your show. I always, when July comes around, I get all excited thinking, oh, I've got Advent Calendar House. And the episodes come out so frequently, so, yes, it makes July and, of course, December that much better. Yeah, I love Advent Calendar House. Brilliant.
Thank you.
My one problem I have, though, is you still haven't cleared up that icy patch.
No, I put a sign there. There's a sign.
The last time I was there, what?
There's a sign.
So what? It's dark out. It's Christmas.
I'll do my best.
No, you just put a cup of salt on it. It's not going to do you any harm, is it?
There we go. Okay. We're putting salt in the icy patch.
A cup of salt. That's all we're asking, Mike. A cup of salt.
All right. I'll try and remember. But Jack's also going to be back for my next Scrooge Sunday episode with a couple more guests. But for now, if people want to break down your bedroom door and tell you how great of a person you are, where can they find you on the internet, Jack?
My podcast is called The Total Christmas Podcast. I have 3 listeners. If you want to make it 4, why not listen along?
Please do. I will have that link in the show notes. Go listen to the Total Christmas Podcast. It's so much fun. I learn something new every episode.
Do you?
I do. Usually because I'm bad at those quizzes.
What did you learn in the last episode? Oh, is that what you learned? That you're bad at the quizzes?
Yeah, probably.
What did you score last time you were on? Do you remember?
Last time? Well, I wasn't on for one of the quizzes.
You've done a quiz before?
I have not done a quiz before.
You've done the quiz before?
No, I talked about Santa Claus before. My Santa Claus is not coming to town story.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Oh, this is it then. Okay, well, boys and girls, actually, I probably would have played it by now. Because we're going to, after we finish chatting now, we're going to do the quiz.
We're doing a quiz.
Mike gets a chance to embarrass himself.
That's right.
Actually, I reckon you're going to do all right today. I think you're going to do okay.
I hope so. All right. So the link to that episode and the Total Christmas Podcast are both in the show notes. You can find those and wherever I'm hanging out online at adventcalendar.house, and you can figure it out from there. Talk to you all next time when I set sail on a completely different Christmas adventure. Until then...
Hang on, what's the next episode? What is the next one?
Well, they'll find out after this.
Oh, you're going to play the little...
Yeah. But till next time, for Jack from my highly unsuccessful shop of mustaches and mustache accessories, this is Mike Westfall reminding you to mind the icy patch that I've hopefully remembered to salt. And despite everything we just learned, be good for goodness sake. Good night, y'all. Next time on the Advent Calendar House...